Good morning, good morning, good morning. What a crazy morning. I've just been talking to who I thought was you, but I hadn't even pressed go live on the YouTube, and I was explaining my coffee situation, and I'm going to blame that for the double fail this morning. Wow. Okay. Good morning. I was thinking, why is my little display, little monitor on the YouTube Studio app, why is that still showing waiting for go live? It's like, what? So let me start again. Welcome, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Hands on SAP Dev with QMacro. That's me, DJ, on a Wednesday morning. Thank you so much for joining, and thank you for being patient for those 2 minutes, because I was actually talking to you, but I wasn't live. It's like, oh. And the reason is because my coffee supply has been depleted to zero. And in fact, this morning's coffee, this one, I didn't have a coffee after my run because I didn't have any coffee beans or enough to have one here as well. So I've sort of waited until now, and it's still a disaster because it's only half full, and I had to top it up with some decaf from Michelle's ground decaf coffee supply. So that was a disaster because it doesn't taste very nice, and it didn't boot my brain into gear, and I didn't go live. But I'm live now, so welcome. And so I'm going to say all the good mornings again. So Chesh, is it Chesh? Let me know if I pronounce that correctly. Chesh, good morning. Volker, Morgan, Andrew, good morning, good evening. And Christian, hey, good morning. Gregor, Servus, Vincent, good morning. Great to have you on board. Yeah, I was just saying that this is a bit of a bonus sort of Wednesday morning live stream. As we're stuck at home even more, and, as we got so much to go through, I thought I'd try a Wednesday morning one as well as the Friday. We've still got one on Friday. So let's see how it goes. Yeah, we left on a cliffhanger last Friday, which we'll get to shortly. It was all about the destination not being defined. We had this lovely error message from the output of the result of CF push. So we're going to look into that. Thank you very much, Chesh. Good morning to you as well. And so there we go. So we'll look at that, but I've got a few things to share with you first. So let me just move to the main screen. In fact, it was when I moved to the main screen, I'm thinking, why is that monitor still not updating? Oh, I've not pressed go live. Anyway, right. So welcome to Hands on SAP Dev episode 61. That's very good. So what I'll do, I'll move up the browser into view, and I've got a few things just to share, just to update. In fact, look right in front of me. I did mention last Friday that I've not done a t-shirt giveaway for a while, and this is a t-shirt I've actually not worn. I was given this as a spare, but I've never worn it. It's a classic. Well, I guess you can all tell what this is. This is an Open UI5 or SAP UI5 t-shirt from back in the day, and it's not been worn. It's just been in my drawer. It's a large, so it fits me. It would fit me nicely. So if you know me, that's about the right size. So if you would like this, I can post it off to you. I'm not sure when, but I'll put it in a jiffy bag, and when I next go to the post office for my grandma for a pension, so she can buy the groceries, I can buy them on her behalf and everything. I will take that as well. So whoever I get a message from first in Twitter, send me a Twitter direct message with your address, and I'll post this to you. It's a large Open UI5 t-shirt. So there we go. And if you want any stickers as well, you maybe saw the stickers last week, let me know, and I can post some stickers to you as well. Too small for you, Gregor. You probably got one, but that's power from Munich. But too small, yes, very, very true. Unfortunately, I don't have any extra large, or I don't know what it is after that. But anyway, here we go. So what have I got to share before we go into this? So if you didn't know, Thomas Young, our fearless leader, Tom Young, in the Developer Advocates team. I'm not signed in here. I'm using the incognito window for reasons I'll explain in a minute. So Tom did the first episode of the ABAP Freak Show. So we did the ABAP Freak Show a long time ago, over 10 years ago, which was very popular then. He and Rich Heilman did it. So if you're not already subscribed to Tom's channel, I'm going to put it in the chat. Go over to Tom's channel, subscribe, have a look at the recording of ABAP Freak Show episode 0. I like the way that he also started his episodes at episode 0. And also set a reminder for the next one, which is coming up next week. So that's awesome. So well done, Tom. And what I also wanted to point out was that, Tom did a really nice sort of work from home routine, sort of showing the start of his run, which I really enjoyed. So have a look at that as well. Because, we're all stuck at home. And, and Andrew, thank you very much. You can post me some coffee. Oh, thank you. That's very kind. That's very kind. In fact, I've emailed in a panic, Packed Coffee, who I get my coffee from, saying, you said you sent some on Friday. Where is it? It's not arrived. So let's see what they say. Thank you very much for the offer, for the very kind offer, Andrew. Volker, yes, you've still got one of those from the very first UI5Con. Yes, so it's very valuable. This is very valuable, this T-shirt. So have a look at this really nice work from home routine. And I've also been seeing people's morning coffee routines as well. So anybody on the chat there, post your coffee routine. I might do a video on my morning coffee routine when I get some new coffee, showing how I make the coffee with the La Pavoni that I've got here, this Lever espresso machine. Who knows? But the morning routine reminded me to also say that I'm a member of a running club. I run alone mostly because I'm really antisocial. I run alone, but I'm also a founder member of the Michela Running Club Manchester chapter. And because we can't run together anymore at the moment, because we're all sort of confined, we've got this Michela Running Club Goes Virtual hashtag. So look at this hashtag here. And if you fancy doing a run, with us, as it were virtually, and stick it on there, because also we've got this little bingo, runners bingo thing. Where is it? Here's a sort of a black and white print-outable thing that I did. But, it's like a bingo card. So trail run, run in the rain or snow, run with a hat, negative split of 5K, post-run beer, personal best, do a personal best for a segment. Today, I went for this square run in a finisher's T-shirt, as you can see from that picture right at the top there. So there we go. Yeah, pre-run dawn. There's Manchester in the distance. Really nice. So that's that. So yeah, get your running kit on and share your runs with us on the MRC Goes Virtual. Talking of events, one thing I also wanted to share is that Craig runs this SAP Community Report Live series of sessions, online sessions. And this next one, which is tomorrow, Thursday, it is something fun for everyone. And we've got Craig, of course, lots of other brilliant people, including Tom Young, getting started with steampunk. So Craig is using Zoom, and there's these breakout rooms, which is pretty cool. So there's going to be a breakout room with me where I'm going to be showing kids how to get started with Scratch, which is a really nice sort of graphical programming environment. There's going to be a breakout room with Tom Young, getting started with steampunk. For those of us in the right time zone, at the appropriate legal age as well, there's going to be a happy hour breakout room. And also, Timo is going to be giving us some really cool tips on virtual presentations. So there is the link to the community report there. And I think that's all I wanted to share. Yes, this other link here, hopefully we'll be getting to this later on. This is a link some documentation we've seen before when we were going through the OAuth story. We haven't left the OAuth story, but when we were looking at OAuth from underneath. And specifically, we looked at originally we looked at the resource owner password grant type, which is now deprecated, of course, but we also looked at the client credentials grant type, and we also looked at the authorization code grant type, which is this one here. And this is a beautiful flow. How could, OAuth at 8 a.m. Here we go again. My T-shirt is on its way, by the way. So this is a flow that involves a human. So a human authenticates and then then allows something on their behalf to act on their behalf. Okay, and what we'll see, hopefully, once we get our little destination test app deployed and properly running, we'll hopefully be able to debug or use the Chrome developer tools to see what's going on in the background when we get that Cloud Foundry user ID and password thing and see what's going on. And we'll see we do it right, that actually what's going on is this very authorization code grant type. But before that, let's dig in to where we left off. It was quite exciting. I was quite excited. I think other folks, I know Phil Cooley was very excited, which is great. So why don't we, well, let's actually, while I'm here, let's go to the cockpit. I'll just pull these sleeves up because it's quite warm in here, but these sleeves are quite tight. And it's like restricting blood flow, so I'm just going to pull them down again. This is a great SAP Developer Advocates shirt. And, they're really comfortable anyway, but I thought, actually, yeah, I'm doing some virtual things, so why not wear one of these t-shirts? I think if I wore my does not work on Windows t-shirt, I might get some stern look from people. So I'm not going to wear that one online. Anyway, I'm going to enter my trial account, and we see we've got here. This is not the trial account that I used last Friday, but I've set everything up exactly the same. And the reason is there's some really cool Cloud Foundry, SAP Cloud Platform, Cloud Foundry features coming down the pipe, okay, which you may have seen in the updates. I'll see if I can dig out the URL. But there's going to be now this new feature set. Okay, in fact, if I look at this here, workflow about, you will see that the cloud management tools, I've got feature set A in this particular log on here. There's going to be a feature set B with all sorts of wonderful goodness. So the developer advocates are going through a process with the teams internally to get ours switched to feature set B as soon as possible, so that we can show you, and so you'll be ready for feature set B when it finally comes online, which should be very soon. So anyway, that's the reason I've moved to this, because my other account, my main account, is sort of a little bit in limbo at the moment. So anyway, doesn't matter. What we've got in here is, if you remember from last Friday, we've got a cloud connector connected to it, and that's the cloud connector that we are running. We're running in this Docker container on my container here on the Chrome OS device, which is fine. That's exactly the same as last week. And we're also still exposing this virtual ES5. In fact, what I would go to, just to show you, because we'll need this as well anyway. Let's have some more space by getting rid of the bookmark bar. There we go. Yeah, the coffee's not very nice at all. Okay, so we've got, so you can see there is the weird sort of in transit account that I've got, and there's an old account, and it's all wonderful and weird. But this is the one we're interested in. And if I look at if I click on the cloud to on-premise, we'll see that we've got this virtual host mapping. And we've got a virtual host exposed as virtual ES5, which is pointing to our ES5 system that's in the cloud. But we're pretending at the moment through this cloud connector that it's an on-premises system, right? So, and we're exposing some resources in the SAP OPU OData path and subpaths. That's why we've got this nice little, oh yes, there's some exposed backend systems here. Right, so that's that. Now, in the destinations definitions, we've got one destination defined, shopinfo, and that points to one of the OData services in that ES5 system, which is this EPM, Enterprise Procurement Model, Reference Apps Shop Service. So it doesn't really matter what the OData service is, but it's an OData service, okay? And it's on there. When we look at the spaces, we'll see that we've got this one single dev space here, and it's got, let's just open this up again. It's got just two applications, if I remember rightly. There's the that's right. There's the desk test. We left it. I put this in deliberately, leaving it as it was last week. So we've got ignore these two. These are to do with the workflow. So this is our desk testing here, and it's sort of not started. Okay, it failed last week. We've got the service instances. We've got the service instances related to the portal and the Fury Launchpad for the workflow, but we've got this connectivity service, we've got the destination service, and we've got an XSUAA service, okay, that I've called the instances names the same names of the service themselves, okay? So everything exactly as it was last week. Good morning, Robin. Welcome. Nice to see you. Hope you're okay over there. Let me bring up the terminal, because the terminal's awesome. And this is what we had when we left off. So we had this XS app.json specifying a route to the shopinfo destination, which you've just seen, and that's the one that's being supported right now by this on-premise, the Cloud Connector based thing. And we've got a manifest, which we've been sort of working on, building up from the simplest thing that could possibly work. And what we, I think, added nearly at the end was the build pack specification, so that it didn't load 1,000,001 build packs to try and work out what it was. Okay, so it just cut down the time. So let's deploy that. Not deploys. Let's push that from here and see what happens. Okay, this is exactly where we left off last time. So we're using the manifest info file, and we'll see. Okay, and we got this error message. Well, yeah. So Gregor very well pointed out 1 gig. Was that 1 gig there? Let me just move that to there a minute. Yes, and that's because. And Gregor, it's almost like, yes, it is definitely overkill. It's almost like I paid you some money to say that. Virtual money, virtual currency, obviously. Because, in fact, there's the disk quota there. Disk quota 1 gig. And that's because we're doing the simplest thing that could possibly work and not specifying anything that we don't have to specify in the manifest. So next time around, okay, let's modify that manifest to specify a more realistic, less overkill memory amount. Sorry, that was the disk quota there. Yeah, there's the memory quota there. Memory amount for the app. Okay, and that we define in the manifest. So there we go. We can see actually already the absence of, as in we can't see all that loading build pack Java, Python, R, whatever, right? So it's not doing that because we've already told it what build pack it is. So that's good. No other options. I didn't specify any other options. So let me just, in fact, while we do that, let's go and say memory 128 meg. Okay, there you go, Gregor. We'll put that, and that will be obviously valid next time. So let's have a look at this. Waiting for app to start. Yes, we'll try that as well. In fact, I wanted to try that later on as well. Gregor, super. What a live stream partner. Brilliant. Yes, we'll add that as well. Okay, so this is failed, and this is what we had last week, and hopefully it's failed with the same reason, which is, let's have a look. CF logs dest test recent. Okay, and we'll just grab the most recent logs here, and what we'll see here is some. I've just noticed as well. I watched the thing back, and it's definitely better when I sort of highlight it with blue, because it's very hard to see, I think. Let me know the red on the black. I might change the color scheme, but I think this is readable when it's with a blue background. But what we saw is up here, XS app.json routes 0, as in the first route. Remember, we determined on Friday that it's parsing the JSON correctly, in that it's found that the routes is an array, and it's got the first entry, which is 0, the 0th indexed array entry. Thank you, Gregor. Format validation failed. Route references unknown destination shop info, but we've already got shop info. It's there. We saw it in the destinations definition. Now, it turns out, of course, and I think you can all probably guess what's going on here. It turns out that while last Friday we had this error right at the start, and then we solved, we got around the error by defining that destination in a value of the environmental variable destinations. Remember, we exported that destinations variable and everything like that when we were running approuter on the command line here on my machine. But of course, that's not relevant. That's not the right context for when we're pushing to the Cloud Foundry environment. So how do we do it? Well, of course, so Gregor, you're saying resource is missing. Well, actually, I'm not sure what resource you're referring to there, But talking of missing, and thank you again, Gregor. This is awesome. Everybody, please just throw your thoughts in there. There's no wrong thoughts. We're all exploring this together, and I'm sort of deliberately not reading the documentation so that we can bang our heads against the wall and say, okay, why is this not working? And then work it out and see the error messages, because at least this is how I learn. But it turns out, of course, that we can't, define an environmental variable here locally and then push it somehow up to the cloud. What happens is that when we define a destination, those destination definitions are available. They were available in Neo, sort of by default, but remember, in Cloud Foundry, everything is a service, and we have the destination service. Okay, remember the destination service. Let's bring that back up again. There's the service instance. This coffee is really drying my mouth out. I'm not going to drink that. Decaf coffee, and it's not very good decaf coffee either, I don't think. For my delicate palate, I'm a bit of a snob when it comes to coffee. We've got the destination service instance here, right? But it's just sitting there doing nothing. Well, can you be too deep into mta.yaml? I don't think you can, Gregor. I think the deeper you are, the better you are, right? The same with manifest. Yeah, exactly. I've really only started scratching the surface of the manifests, but this was due to the approach that I wanted to take, which was, what is the simplest thing? I don't want a multi-target application. I just want a normal CF push, right? I want to describe it with as few things as possible, right? Now, we're looking at this destination here. There's no referencing apps. In other words, if we go back and look at our dev space and look at the application service bindings, nothing. Of course, there's no service bindings because we haven't specified any services to bind to in the manifest. So effectively, the mechanism on Cloud Foundry that provides these destination definitions from the destination definition that we've just been, looking at in here, right? The shopinfo destination. Let me open up. In fact, let me open up in a separate tab so we can see that as well. There, it's the destination service, an instance of that service, that will make these destination definitions available via the destination's environmental variable to the app. So how do we fix that? Well, let's go and have a look at the manifest. I've switched from the Node theme to Grovebox, and I really like it. I used to use Grovebox, and I forgot how beautiful it was. So I think, is it services? Destination. I think it's services, yeah. So all I've done, let me just go in there again. All I've done is said, for this application, the services that it needs to be bound to is a list, an array, okay? I spent 15 minutes getting my brain around YAML, or getting my brain around YAML again, right? And now I can see that and understand the structure a bit better. So basically, when you have a dash, that means the thing that follows the dash is the first item in a new array. Okay. So let's deploy that CF push. So all I've done is added that extra bit to the manifest, and as you can see here, it sort of says, and this is what we sort of surmised last week, isn't it? That it sort of looks and it does a little bit of a comparison and says, oh yeah, it was memory 1 gig. Implicitly through a default value, but now you specified explicitly memory 128 meg, and you've also added the destination. Oh, Gregor, I forgot to put those build parameters, and we'll put those in now after this one, because for folks who are not sure what Gregor and I are talking about, this build parameters ignore node modules. Now, in fact, while we're waiting for that, let me go up and there we go. I shared this a few episodes ago. A colleague and friend of mine, Marius Obert, I always think, does my bum look big in this? I don't know why I think that. But anyway, there we go. This is a really nice little reference here. I'll just put that link in there. Here's an example of using that build parameter that Gregor has just mentioned. Oh yes, of course. This is for the MTA module, not for the manifest. I wonder if we can somehow work out what the equivalent is. Maybe it is build parameters. I don't know. We could try and find out, right? Just put it in and see if it complains. But by putting this thing here in there, what will happen is that when the app is deployed, as in pushed up, uploaded to the Cloud Foundry, that humongous node modules directory and all its children and everything, which takes up most of the space of your app, is not uploaded. What's happened is that those node modules are installed once the definition, the package.json, gets there, right? Robin Vanetov. Robin, nice heart. Yes. What are you? I'm not sure what you're hearting, but I'm hoping you're hearting, that concept that Gregor was talking about, but also the beautiful, as Gregor pointed out, the beautiful highlighting, right? Where are we? There, manifest. There, what more do you need from an IDE? I don't know. Anyway, so now we've deployed that. All we changed was the manifest.json and the manifest.json is that sort of Freudian slip, the manifest.yaml, and we've now bound that test app to the destination service, right? So it's now started. Okay, we don't get that error message. So now let's have a look. Recent. And there we go. Now, there's no errors, right? Well, if we look at this here, we have to go all the way up here to see that error. And that's the error that we just looked at before. So after that deployment, after that push, there's no errors. Now, actually, this reminds me, one of the things that really irk me about, well, I suppose the whole cloud thing is that the error messages are super ugly and they're really badly formatted. I come from the mainframe days, IBM, all proprietary, but logging was an art, okay? And it was done beautifully by all applications consistently. And this is the opposite end of the spectrum. It's awful. But with some super easy, or relatively easy command line tools and the power of the terminal, because the future is terminal, we can use those commands to sort of give us a lot nicer output. So why don't we do that now? Actually, I'm hoping that this extra Wednesday episode slot gives us more chance to sort of dig deeper and deeper into different things. So please, explicitly in the chat, let me know. I sometimes feel as though I need to rush through things because there's only an hour, and I only want to restrict it to an hour because you've all got other things to do. So let me know if this is still on track in terms of detail and what we wanted. But what I wanted to show you was that with the use of a few command line tools, you can make this disaster of a log format from Cloud Foundry easier on the human eye. So we've got, in fact, why don't I put this into a file for now? Let's put this into logs, okay? Just so we're not hitting the logs, CF logs every time, and it's going to be a bit quicker. So in logs, we've got that, okay? All this stuff here, and it's really ugly. Now, this is something I've sort of played around with earlier this morning. So it's not something I'm making up right now, but it's because I didn't want you to sort of look at me looking at the man pages for all these different things. However, one of the problems, all I want here is this message, right? There's a message here in this bit of JSON. Who puts JSON on a log record? For goodness sake. This JSON here, that's what I want to see. And maybe I also want to see the date and time. Okay, so rather than sort of think about the CF logs output as I want to avoid using that as much as possible because it's awful and it's really difficult to read. 2, I'm going to embrace CF logs because it gives me what I want to know, right? And it gives me this, almost tangible feeling of touching the app as it's happening, as things are going on in the cloud platform, right? So if I say, and I'm just going to simulate, doing a CF log, so I can just say cat. This is a useless use of cat, but it's not useless, but right. Pipe the logs, and what I want to do is I just want to find the ones where we've got this bit of JSON. Okay, that's all I'm really interested in. So I'm going to grep for written out. Grep written out. Okay, but one of the things you've got to be careful of when you're grepping and sending data through standard I/O through a pipeline of commands, and that data is being generated sort of bit by bit, and you don't have like an end of file thing, you've got to change the buffering, because the way that the kernel buffers things in between in a pipeline is really special and really efficient, but we want to have a less efficient buffering. So what we can say is line buffered. Okay, that's an option with grep to say just give it line by line and spit it out line by line as well. Don't buffer it up before sending it through the next pipe. Okay, so we'll say written at. So that will give us that. Okay, that's fine. And then where's the pipe symbol? There we go. And then what we want to do is we want to strip off this ridiculous bit of white space here so we can start cutting these things up. So sed -u, which is unbuffered, a similar sort of thing with sed. And then we'll just say substitute from the start of the line any space with nothing. Okay, let's try that. There we go. And now we've sort of slammed the lines into the left-hand side. We got rid of all that nonsense, that sort of white space noise at the start. Okay, and then we can start to use our cutting tool very precisely, because we've got, the date timestamp here, and then a space, and then something else, and then a space, then something else, then a space, then the JSON. Okay, so why don't we do this and say, and cut, if a command doesn't have the ability to say go for line buffering, there's actually a command you can run called standard buff, which will allow us to say do line buffering on the output of the following command. So then we can start using cut. Okay, and we're going to say cut, use a space as a delimiter between fields, and then just output a range. The field output is cheers, Volker. Stay healthy, stay indoors. Nice to see you. Well, the JSON is maybe to visualize them in Kibana, maybe, but to me, that's the wrong approach. That's completely the wrong approach. If the log's supposed to be readable, it's supposed to be readable by humans first and machines after. So maybe have a separate log. Maybe I'm looking in the wrong place. Maybe I'm an idiot. Maybe there's another human readable log available to me, but I don't think so. CF logs is CF logs is CF logs. So anyway, let's just use this power and see what happens. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so we want 4, and because there's spaces inside this JSON as well, we want to say 4 until the end, and let's see what happens there. So there we go. We've now got that first field, and then the second field. Okay. Finally, we can say, let's just do a new a clear screen here. Finally, we can say, well, let's pipe that into our trusty friend JSON query. And we want raw output. And what we want is the I shouldn't have cleared the screen, should I? Hold on 1 second. What we want is the written at. Yeah, let's use the written at. We can't grab this with JQ. Let's use the written at and the message. Okay, so let's do that. JQ raw written at, and you can sort of concatenate values of properties in JSON together, just like this. Plus dot message. Okay, let's see if we get something like that. Oh. Oh yes, of course. There we go. I don't want that first value because it's going to choke JSON. JSON jQuery minus R raw output dot written at plus a space plus message from the JSON. There we go. Isn't that much better? Isn't that easier to read? Yes. Okay, so we can now say CF logs recent. CF logs desk test. Okay. And that's nice, right? So now we can say not recent, but just give me whatever comes next. But while we're here, we can sort of see now what happened when we deployed the application. So we saw here, let's just go back, and here we go. It's somewhere up here, right? No cookies, environmental variable. In fact, why don't we deploy it again? Why don't we deploy it again? Let's just see. Let's just bring up a new pane and say desk test CF. I need to stop saying deploy. Push CF push. And see what happens. Gregor says, "Wow, what have you found, Gregor?" Or are you talking about the usefulness of the logs now? Right? You know, aren't they so much more useful when you can actually read them? And of course, you know, I wanted to do this on the command line to show you. Am I shouting, by the way? I'm getting more excited as the day goes on. I wanted to show you on the command line to show you how everything works, but of course you could just put this into a little script and pipe it into a script or a function, for example. So let's see, we're just deploying it again. Thank you, Gregor. Yes, it does. The logs do look nice now, right? So there we go. And come on. Let's see. You know, there's so much to learn about the approuter and the destination service, and we've not even played around with the connectivity service or the XSUA service yet. We've not even looked at the authorization code thing. So you know, it's just so much to know. I think it's really fascinating. So let's just see. Waiting for app to start. Come on. Start. Come on, start. It started. Okay. Oh, there we go. There it is. Yes. I hadn't pressed enter on the CF logs desk test. Okay, I hadn't pressed enter, so we would have seen that coming up. So these are the messages from the start. Dynamic log level switching not available. Application router version 6.82. We've seen that, haven't we? In the let's just go in here. We've seen that in the package.json. It's version 6.82. Okay. Using empty destinations to run. Interesting. Okay, because so basically I'm assuming that we can dig into the code, but I'm assuming that's there's no environmental variable right now, but of course it's going to be bound to the destination service. No authentication will be used by accessing backends, right? Because I think we've defined in here, haven't we? Yeah, authentication method none, right? So far so good. So this is telling us all sorts of really cool stuff. Application does not have directory for static resources, and if we look at the documentation for approuter, which we looked at briefly last week, that sort of hidden wonderful markdown documentation, it tells us all about the possibility of approuter actually serving static resources for us as well, right? It's really cool. We'll dig into that maybe another time. And then the application router starts listening on port 8080. Doesn't that give us a warm feeling that this is just like any other application that we might run in a container locally with Docker or something, or even on the command line? So it's now listening. Now, okay, so why don't we try and have a look. Well, let's go to there. Where is it? I always think the applications go there first. Let's go into there and see what happens. Okay, so there's desk test and it started, which obviously we know. We've got a random route. What is this random route this time? Interested Gerenuk. What's a Gerenuk? I'm guessing it's some sort of weird animal. I don't know. So let's click on that. and we get an internal server error. Now, some logs have appeared in our little log tailing thing down below. Let's have a look. That was the last one we saw before, right? This one. So now we're seeing something useful. Get request to /root completed with status 500. Destination shop info with proxy type on premise, but connectivity service is not bound. So what have we learned so far? That our destination test, effectively with the xsapp.json, the root definition, okay, refers to a destination. And we can supply that destination information in an environmental variable on the command line by doing it manually. But once we push it to the cloud, we effectively need the destination service, and we need that service bound to the application, right? To provide the application through that binding with the information from the destination definitions in the cockpit, i.e. shop info, right? So that's good. So we've got the destination now, and it says, oh yeah, destination, hooray, go, go, go. Oh, fail, because it needs the connectivity service, right? Now, this makes me think, before we introduce the connectivity service, let's have a quick look at our destinations. Why don't we create a destination that's not proxy type on premise? And by the way, yes, I do not like the word on premise. It's just the wrong word. It should be on prem or on premises, not on premise. Blog post, not blog. Come on, folks, get this right. Sorry, it's very, very minor. But anyway, so why don't we say shop info internet? Because of course our ES5 system is actually on the interwebs. We're just pretending it's on-prem through the cloud connector through that destination. So why don't we now give it a normal URL? So, well, let's have a look in our cloud connector. There we go. That's the thing now. SAP ES5 SAP Dev Center. Okay, fine. And SAP ES5. Have we got a shop info thing? What's it called? Ref apps. No, we haven't. Doesn't matter. Okay. We'll just type it in. Don't need Marius anymore. Type that in. No, there. Here it is. So HTTPS SAP ES5.sapdevcenter spelled us.com 443. Let's just be explicit, because that's the standard HTTPS port. SAP OPU OData SAP EPM ref. Keep me honest here. Am I doing this right? Ref apps shop serve. Okay. Proxy type internet. Okay. And we'll put our basic authentication in as well, right? So user I347491. Oh yes. There we go. Okay, so let's save that. Okay, that's saved. Cool. So now, why don't we go back and specify not shop info, but shop info internet. I've just noticed here as well, shop info internet, right? I've just also noticed that we also need a target. Oops. That won't make any difference at this stage, but let's put that in while I remember. Okay, so we're now going to redeploy. I'm going to say deploy because it's really deploying. I'm going to redeploy, and all we've changed now is we're now specifying not shop info as the destination, but shop info -internet, that one we've just defined as being proxy type internet, not proxy type on premise. So I'm wondering whether this will give us a different error message to this, okay? Because the shop info internet that we're now asking the approuter to direct requests to the shopinfo internet doesn't have proxy type on-premise. So let's see what happens. Let's see if it does need the connectivity service. Who knows? Yeah, I wonder, Gregor. We could try the build parameters thing in the manifest, but is that the exact equivalent? What I don't want to do is sort of waste everybody's time by looking at the documentation to see what it might be. So I'll try that offline, and we'll look at it on Friday. Okay. So waiting for app to start. Okay. Well, actually, let's flip back over to here. Oh, there we go. Look, dynamic log level switching not available. Oh, there we go. Right. So we can see that the logging is dynamic. It's coming out. It's like tailing the log, right? CF logs desk test, and we just get the tail of it, right? But don't forget, when you're doing that sort of thing with the pipeline, you need to make sure that things are unbuffered or buffered at a line level, so things don't get stuck in the buffer. So it's listening again. So why don't we try that again? Let's go back down here, bring that up there, and well, I'll just press refresh, right? Refresh. Did we expect that? I think we did. I think we hoped for it. So what does that mean? That means, well, what are we doing right now? We are using this application route, the only route that exists for this desk test, which is defined by or directed by an XSApp.json that says anything coming in / should go via the destination shopinfo internet, which is a proxy type internet destination, not a proxy type on-prem destination. So we need the destination service to get the destination information from those definitions. That's, I guess, the thing that's converting it into the equivalent of or the same as the destination's environmental variable data, right? But the connectivity service for this particular case is not needed because we're not trying to go down the tunnel of a cloud connector. So the app router itself provides some level of reverse proxying, as we saw last Friday, right? So that's really interesting. Now, let's change this back again. There. And push it again. Because now what we'll do is we'll refresh. We should get that error. Okay, again. Which error am I talking about? I'm talking about this one, right? But then we will bind the connectivity service to the app and try that again, right? To see, let's just go step by step by step, stumbling always forward, sometimes hurting our toes. But I think this is the path that we want to follow, right? So let's see. Well, we can actually monitor it down here, can't we? Because we're going to see some startup messages now. So we all know already now that the first thing we should be looking for is this message: dynamic log level switching not available. That's the first thing that the app router spits out. Well, there is a proxy needed because at the very basic level. And this is Gregor. It's a great question, Gregor. It's a great question. So Gregor is asking, isn't there any proxy needed to call out to the internet? So at the very basic level, what we're doing is we're hitting the app router. Okay. So in a normal sort of non-proxied circumstance, all we would normally expect to get back is anything that the app router itself served, e.g. that's those static resources, right? However, what we are getting back by hitting the root of the app router is we're getting back data from ES5. So there is some proxying going on. Purely by definition, there's some proxying going on. That's my understanding, right? That's the way I see it. And you know, some people call it proxying. If I was to be more accurate, what is wrong with my words today? Accurate. I think I would probably say reverse proxying. But anyway, let's not get into that. Okay, so we've now got the thing started up again. Okay, there it is. So let's now go here, and I'm going to hit refresh. Great, it's consistent, right? We're now back to the internal server error. I keep going to the wrong window. And the internal server error is the same as before. Destination shop info with proxy type on premise, but connectivity service is not bound. So why don't we now go in and address that? Rather than do it with the command line, let's do it just for a change here. If we go to service bindings for this app, right? Yes, exactly. Gregor, that's exactly right. So the approuter is our reverse proxy here in that particular case that we've just had a success from, where we saw the service document of that OData service. And yes, it can connect directly to the internet. Exactly. Maybe you were thinking about or talking about like an HTTP proxy, the thing that we think about to say, me here right now in this room, in order to get to the internet, I'm on some sort of corporate network, I need to go through a proxy. That's why actually it's more accurate to talk about what we're talking about in terms of a reverse proxy. But anyway, so we can see this service, but great points there, Gregor. Thank you very much. Yes, exactly, Vincent. Were you around last Friday? We had a look. We didn't look at the source code, I think. Or did we? We looked at some. We grepped through some of the stuff, right? And we looked at the documentation. But yeah, it's all there to see. It's beautiful, right? So at the moment, because of the manifest file, which is where is it? There, because of the manifest file, we've got this destination service already bound. Okay, there it is, destination service. We haven't specified in the manifest file the connectivity service, sort of deliberately. So why don't we do that now here? This is like the equivalent of doing that in the manifest file. Bind service, choose service type from the catalog, yes please. Connectivity, yeah, okay, cool. Ooh. Next. Here we go. One or more instances already exist. That's really nice. Reuse an instance or create a new instance. I'm going to reuse that one I already created, right? Because it's sitting there doing nothing at the moment. So I'm going to reuse that one. Next. And there we go. So finish. Okay, now I know at least that when you do when you suddenly bind a service to an app, that app is not suddenly magically going to be able to start using that because we've already got a running instance. That's the app that that's the thing that we're using. So I'm going to restart. Okay, and of course, if we'd have bound that connectivity service instance through the manifest.yaml and then redeployed, then of course that app would have restarted sort of implicitly anyway. So that's all we're doing. In fact, why don't we look at the logs here to see if we can see the logs, from the restart as well, right? What's going on here? There we go. There we go. There. Yes, there we go. There we go. So it's restarted. So now let's have a look. Well, there it is, right? I'm going to keep the same URL because it's the same route. And let's now refresh this. So we've now got the connectivity service bound and the destination service bound. Ooh, sort of great because we've not got the same error, which is sort of a relief. What error have we got now? Scopes. Ooh, there's no error coming up. Now. See, this is one of the things we've got to watch out for. We got an error here, right? This was the error. Invalid SAP connectivity authentication header, value authentication credentials type job, blah, 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 right? Now, what I'm guessing is that there is a requirement now, not only for the connectivity service, which you've just added, okay, and we're not getting any errors to say the proxy type is on-prem and you've got no connectivity service. We don't get that error anymore. Instead, we get a different error here, and also, well, on the face of it, we don't get any error here. But I think that's because this little pipeline is not grabbing everything, or rather, this grep part here is not grabbing everything. So let's have a look. CF logs dest test recent to have a look. It's 8:58 as well. There we go. There we go. Outritten that. Yes. Okay. So again, see, we're going from a really nice, easy to read set of logs, parse logs, to something again. It's like, oh, I'll stare at this for a long time. But basically, look at this. I'm guessing that this, well, the container became healthy. That's a nice sort of checkpoint. Okay. After that, out, we get a slightly different message, don't we? We don't get any JSON. So we need to sort of, and again, this is one of the things that does my head in about these sorts of logs. It's not consistent, right? But the reason it's not consistent, you can sort of understand. You can't excuse it, but you can understand it because we were getting stuff from this sort of app proc web 0 thing. But now we're getting this log is from RTR7. I have no idea what that is. I'm going to find out. But that spits out logs in a different way. And what we can see here is there's a get. And that was at 7:57, as in 8:57 my time, just now. Get root, which is what we did. Blah, 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 blah. Forwarded, VCAP request, and we get an error. So now it's down to us for next time on Friday, because it's 9 o'clock already, it's an hour's gone already, to find out what's going on here. Because the easy thing to do would be just to say, okay, let's just introduce the XS UAA service, and oh yeah, it works now. Let's try and find out why it's not working. So, thank you so much for joining on a Wednesday morning. Please let me know in the comments, or better still, let me know on Twitter. Please say yes or no. If you don't want it, then let me know as well. But let me know on Twitter whether a Wednesday episode next week, for example, as well, while we're in these times of lockdown, whether a Wednesday as well as a Friday would be useful. Until then, stay safe, stay at home, keep washing your hands, and I'll see you online.